sculpted leather chairs set in 4 groups. Abby waited until the others had seated themselves in 2 of the groupings, and then sat by herself in another. She placed the sack in her lap and rested her hands over its contents. The sorceress stiffened her back. "I will tell the first wizard that he has supplicants who wish to see him." A guard opened one of the double doors for her. As she was swallowed into the great room beyond, Abby was able to snatch a quick glimpse. She could see that it was well lighted by glassed skylights. There were other doors in the gray stone of the walls. Before the door closed, Abby was also able to see a number of people, men and women both, all rushing hither and yon. Abby sat turned away from the old woman and the 3 men, as with one hand she idly stroked the sack in her lap. She had little fear that the men would talk to her, but she didn't want to talk to the woman. It was a distraction. She passed the time going over in her mind what she planned to say to Wizard Zorander. At least she tried to go over it in her mind. Mostly, all she could think about was what the sorceress had said, that the first wizard was called the Wind of Death, not only by the Darrans, but also by his own people of the Midlands. Abby knew it was not to scare off supplicants from a busy man. Abby herself had heard people whisper of their great wizard, the Wind of Death. Those whispered words were uttered in dread. The lands of Dara had sound reason to fear this man as their enemy. He had laid waste to countless of their army, from what Abby had heard. Of course, if they hadn't invaded the Midlands bent on conquest, they would not have felt the hot wind of death. Had they not invaded, Abby wouldn't be sitting there in the Wizard's Keep. She would be at home, and everyone she loved would be safe. Abby marked again the odd tingling sensation from the bracelet. She ran her fingers over it, testing its unusual warmth. This close to a person of such power, it didn't surprise her that the bracelet was warming. Her mother had told her to wear it always, and that someday it would be of value. Abby didn't know how, and her mother had died without ever explaining. Sorceresses were known for the way they kept secrets, even from their own daughters. Perhaps if Abby had been born gifted. She sneaked a peek over her shoulder at the others. The old woman was leaning back in her chair, staring at the doors. The nobles' attendants sat with their hands folded as they casually eyed the room. The noble was doing the oddest thing. He had a lock of sandy-colored hair wound around a finger. He stroked his thumb over the lock of hair as he glared at the doors. Abby wanted the wizard to hurry up and see her, but time stubbornly dragged by. In a way, she wished he would refuse. No, she told herself, that was unacceptable. No matter her fear, no matter her revulsion, she must do this. Abruptly, the door opened. The sorceress strode out toward Abby. The noble surged to his feet. "I will see him first." His voice was cold threat. "That is not a request." "It is all right to see him first," Abby said without forethought. When the sorceress folded her hands, Abby decided she had best go on. "I've waited since dawn. This woman was the only one waiting before me. These men came at the last of the day." Abby started when the old woman's gnarled fingers gripped her forearm. "Why don't we let these men go first, dearie? It matters not who arrived first, but who has the most important business." Abby wanted to scream that her business was important, but she realized that the old woman might be saving her from serious trouble in accomplishing her business. Reluctantly, she gave the sorceress a nod. As the sorceress led the 3 men through the door, Abby could feel the old woman's eyes on her back. Abby hugged the sack against the burning anxiety in her abdomen and told herself that it wouldn't be long, and then she would see him. As they waited, the old woman remained silent, and Abby was glad for that. Occasionally she glanced at the door, imploring the good spirits to help her. But she realized it was futile. The good spirits wouldn't be disposed to help her in this. A roar came from the room beyond the doors. It was like the sound of an arrow zipping through the air, or a long switch whipping, but much louder, intensifying rapidly. It ended with a shrill crack, accompanied by a flash of light coming under the doors and around their edges. The doors shuddered on their hinges. sudden silence rang in Abby's ears. She found herself gripping the arms of the chair. Both doors opened. The noble's 2 attendants marched out, followed by the sorceress. The 3 stopped in the waiting room. Abby sucked a breath. One of the 2 men was cradling the noble's head in the crook of an arm. The wan features of the face were frozen in a mute scream. Thick strings of blood dripped onto the carpet. "Show them out," the sorceress hissed through gritted teeth to one of the 2 guards at the door. The guard dipped his pike toward the stairs, ordering them ahead, and then followed the 2 men down. Crimson drops splattered onto the white marble of the steps as they descended. Abby sat in stiff, wide-eyed shock. The sorceress wheeled back to Abby and the old woman. The woman rose to her feet. "I believe that I would rather not bother the first wizard today. I will return another day if need be." She hunched lower toward Abby. "I am called Mariska." Her brow drew down. "May the good spirits grant that you succeed." She shuffled to the stairs, rested a hand on the marble railing, and started down. The sorceress snapped her fingers and gestured. The remaining guard rushed to accompany the woman, as the sorceress turned back to Abby. "The first wizard will see you now." Abby gulped air, trying to get her breath as she staggered to her feet. What happened? Why did the first wizard do that? The man was sent on behalf of another to ask a question of the first wizard. The first wizard gave his answer. Abby clutched her sack to herself for dear life as she gaped at the blood on the floor. "Might that be the answer to my question, if I ask it?" "I don't know the question you would ask." For the first time, the sorceress's expression softened just a bit. "Would you like me to see you out? You could see another wizard, or perhaps after you've given more thought to your petition, return another day if you still wish it." Abby fought back tears of desperation. There was no choice. She shook her head. "I must see him." The sorceress let out a deep breath. "Very well." She put a hand under Abby's arm as if to keep her on her feet. "The first wizard will see you now." Abby hugged the contents of her sack as she was led into the chamber where waited the first wizard. Torches in iron sconces were not yet burning. The late afternoon light from the glassed roof windows was still strong enough to illuminate the room. It smelled of pitch, lamp oil, roasted meat, wet stone, and stale sweat. Inside, confusion and commotion reigned. There were people everywhere, and they all seemed to be talking at once. Stout tables set about the room in no discernible pattern were covered with books, scrolls, maps, chalk, unlit oil lamps, burning candles, partially eaten meals, sealing wax, pens, and a clutter of every sort of odd object, from balls of knotted string to half-spilled sacks of sand. People stood about the tables, engaged in conversations or arguments, as others tapped passages in books, pored over scrolls, or moved little painted weights about on maps. Others rolled slices of roasted meat plucked from platters and nibbled as they watched, or offered opinions between swallows. The sorceress, still holding Abby under her arm, leaned closer as they proceeded. "You will have the first wizard's divided attention. There will be other people talking to him at the same time. Don't be distracted. He will be listening to you as he also listens to or talks to others. Just ignore the others who are speaking and ask what you have come to ask. He will hear you." Abby was dumbfounded. "While he's talking to other people?" "Yes." Abby felt the hand squeeze her arm ever so slightly. "Try to be calm and not to judge by what has come before you." The killing. That was what she meant. That a man had come to speak to the first wizard, and he had been killed for it. She was simply supposed to put that from her thoughts? When she glanced down, she saw that she was walking through a trail of blood. She didn't see the headless body anywhere. Her bracelet tingled, and she looked down at it. The hand under her arm halted her. When Abby looked up, she saw a confusing knot of people before her. Some rushed in from the sides as others rushed away. Some flailed their arms as they spoke with great conviction. So many were talking that Abby could scarcely understand a word of it. At the same time, others were leaning in, nearly whispering. She felt as if she were confronting a human beehive. Abby's attention was snagged by a form in white to the side. The instant she saw the long fall of hair and the violet eyes looking right at her, Abby went rigid. A small cry escaped her throat as she fell to her knees and bowed over until her back protested. She trembled and shuddered, fearing the worst. In the instant before she dropped to her knees, she had seen that the elegant, satiny white dress was cut square at the neck, the same as the black dresses had been. The long flag of hair was unmistakable. Abby had never seen the woman before, but without doubt knew who she was. There could be no mistaking this woman. Only one of them wore the white dress. It was the Mother Confessor herself. She heard muttering above her, but feared to listen.